Alright, this is a video on how to replace the right side crank seal on a 2006 to 2020 YZ125. So basically my bike was having problems. It was starting to idle okay, but it was having problems. Once it warmed up, it wouldn't, well, it never seemed to clear out. So even I could be out riding for 30 minutes. If I came to a stop and started revving it, it would slowly build up more and more smoke until it was like someone would hit the kill switch and it would just bog and die, foul plug out. And it would foul a plug, put a new one in it and try and start it, it would foul it out within 10 seconds. So what I ended up doing was, first thing you gotta do is I took the pipe off, just the header, and that'll be a real good sign real quick if there's something wrong with it. So when I took the header off, it's full of this black gunk, really just oily. It didn't have a bitter smell or taste to it, so it wasn't coolant. But that's a pretty good sign that you got a bad right crank seal. First thing you got to do is you got to drain all the oil. You got to drain all the oil and all the coolant out of the bike. You can keep the oil if you want since you're tipping it, but I just went ahead and drained it all. And where'd it go? There it is. So drain all the coolant, all the oil. Next step, take the brake off. I move it out of the way. Take the Kickstarter off. Move it out of the way. Undo radiator hose here. You can do it at the pump or up here. Mine was pretty stiff on the pump, wouldn't come off, so I did it up here. And oh yeah, that's the bolt on your water pump to drain the coolant, in case you didn't know. All right, after you've done all that, go up here to your power valve cover. You'll undo those 3 bolts. Take your power valve cover off. Here's your linkage. Undo the bolt here on your linkage. Take it off. Now you have to undo that in order to get the side case off. So the next step, come up here to your outer clutch cover and you'll undo all the bolts that go around it. Just set them in a ring pattern, that's what I usually do or whatever. Once you've done that, pop that off. Then you work taking your clutch out. So to take the clutch out, you undo the 5 bolts that have springs on the back side. You'll pull this outer clutch hub off. That. Make sure that plunger's on the back. And the fun part, you gotta have a big, I believe it's a 25 or 27 millimeter socket. The big nut. That'll be on here. You gotta hammer down the crush washer. Hammer that down so that way you can undo the nut. Once the nut is off, you can grab it here, wiggle it a little bit. There we go. That's your inner basket. All your clutch pack. Set that over here. And you got your outer basket. Make sure that comes out. There we go. The big gear on the back side of it. Alrighty. So now you'll run around out here. Take this inner clutch cover, undo all those bolts, lay them out in the pattern you took them out in, and then very carefully, you gotta make sure I kind of reach up. And here's a couple gears, the water pump gear and the governor for your power valve will try to fall out on you. Very carefully walk that case up. Like that. water pump and power valve gear. Alright, so now you're in here. Now once you have that off, you'll see there'll be this little tiny gear right here. It'll be on right there. So you gotta undo that, and then you gotta use a gear puller, or I used a flywheel puller with a socket as a spacer. Come down in here and tighten down on it, pop that off. There's a little spacer too with it. Then you'll have your seal right here. That's your culprit. So this seal will go bad on this main crankshaft here, and whenever you rev it, it'll suck oil in. So what I did was take a tiny little drill bit, took a 1/16 drill bit, drilled a tiny little hole through very carefully. There's metal in this rubber, but you don't want to go through and hit the bearing. Very carefully drilled it, and then put a tiny little screw in there. And I just grabbed it and give her a couple little short tugs, and out she came. So there's the old seal, and it doesn't look horrible. Kind of rough on the outside there. That's something to do with it. But when you got to put the new one in, make sure you use either a socket or something really soft. You don't want to drive it in with a screwdriver or a flat blade or something. But yep, that's how you get that out. I'll make another video putting it back together.